I've been thinking about all day if I want to record this vlog or not, because as I was talking this morning, I was driving through town, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw somebody that I haven't seen in well over 25 years. Haven't talked to them since I was 18 years old, and this person had a huge impact on my life, my wife's life, our relationship together, and was part of a really tragic incident that took place. I was super close with them. I've talked about them on podcasts before and in interviews, and learned a lot from them, but something wedged us apart when I was in my teens, maybe 18, 19 years old. And I haven't talked to him since. And I wanted to roll down my window so badly, and I wanted to pull over, and I actually looked and I couldn't see a parking spot, and the light was green, and I'm at a 4-way intersection. And then I thought about spinning around, and as I was going through this thought process, I also thought, they might not even want to see me or talk to me. They might not want anything to do with me. And so I called my wife, and I told her, and she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, if you see them, call me, all right? Because I want to talk. Maybe thinking this person might show up at the factory store. I saw him walking down the street, and I was like, call me and let me know. And I started thinking about the kid I was, and I've been just in my head all day thinking about this. And who that person once knew. And the time and distance that's been created. I don't even know if we have anything in common anymore, except for some shared experiences, which were some of the most impactful shared experiences of my life, and will be some of the most impactful shared experiences of my life. And so I'm struggling what to do with this information. If I'm going to let it slide and let another time, another moment happen organically, or potentially reach out and say something and connect. You know, and this is the first time this has ever happened to me. I know, like, I move so fast through life sometimes, and one of the curses of having ADHD is that if you're not thinking about it, it's not that it's not important. It's just that it's not top of mind for you, and people think you forget about them, or they're not important to you anymore. And in this relationship with this individual's, one of the ones I've never forgotten about and have thought about often and talked about with my wife often, and thought about reaching out often and finding where this person was and is, and I'm definitely not going to go to my grave without reconnecting with this person. You know, relationships as people go different directions in life, they can be really hard. It can be really hard on individuals that have a set of expectations. And I've talked about expectations and not having expectations, but I know this is still hard. And my wife and I just had lunch and we were talking about it. We were talking about the chaos and the intensity of having to be on 24/7, especially with building businesses. You're both a peer and an advisor and a leader and a student and sometimes a therapist. And it really can take a lot out of you. Leading someone who just was physically or verbally abused and they're coming to work because it's their sanctuary in the morning, right? Leading that person, that's hard, because leading that person isn't leading at all. It's just listening, active listening, giving them an ear and giving them a safe space. And up here in Maine, which is a hard life, which many of our communities have been abandoned, manufacturing communities, and lots of drugs and alcohol and substance abuse. You get a lot of folks who are just looking for that little bit of purpose and meaning and fulfillment, and they find it in their workplace, they find it in the factories, they find it at Origin. And in talking with my wife, it's like, it's hard to maintain relationships with maybe friends you've had for a very long time, maybe forever. And sometimes just wanting a moment to breathe. And that's always fleeting. It's always fleeting. And so I just don't set expectations on people, even though sometimes I know there's expectations set on me. I think my closest friends, and I only have a handful of them, they understand that, and we joke about it. They're like, all right, we're going over to Pete's, let's make sure we're all out of there by 9 p.m. But I think I'm going to set an expectation on myself, which is, if there's something like this, seeing this individual, knowing I've wanted to connect with them for decades, having seen a different part of humanity, of reality, of my worldview, having shifted since being a 19-year-old kid in my experiences, experiential knowledge, taking a chance to see if there's still a connection there, if there's still something to talk about, if there's still something to reminisce about, which is nerve-wracking for me because I'm not that person. I don't do that. Like, my personality is like out of sight, out of mind, and I know that's not healthy. It's just the way a lot of folks with neurodivergence, is that what they're calling neurodivergence? It's just the way they're built. And so I guess what I'm saying is I got to hold myself accountable to that. I always, in private with my wife, talk about how can family members be upset with each other? Like how can you be upset with your parents or with your sister, or like how can there be like years and years where flesh and blood butt heads about the smallest things, and it comes down to ego, and it comes down to stubbornness, and it comes down to people not comfortable with admitting faults, with people not recognizing they could be at fault because that's uncomfortable. And so this one relationship, it's the only one of my entire life I've ever wanted to like revisit, because it was such a clusterfuck and I was so young, and they had such a huge impact on me, like a huge impact on me. So I think I'm going to step into that discomfort, ready to admit my faults. And I don't know if they're going to reciprocate or not. And it doesn't matter, because I'm going to set no expectations on them. And I'm going to make this happen. And I'm making that commitment to myself. And as far as relationships are concerned, it is important that we as humans recognize our faults, understand who we are, understand when our ego has taken over and become a barrier to us being better humans, because it's painful. It's painful to admit that a part of you, or something you said, or something you did, and it's so easy to admit or point the finger at somebody else or something they did. And that's why humanity is broken, because it's just like everybody's like pointing the finger at each other. You don't believe in what I believe. You don't believe in this ideology. You come from a different place. You think a different way. It's so divisive, and so navigating that is difficult, but navigating that is necessary. And I would even say navigating that is a responsibility. So I'll take the first step.